School is difficult in this day and age for any kid and for any family, but especially those families that have children with special needs. And to join us to talk about that specifically, we're pleased to be joined with the Executive Director of Oakland Schools Special Populations Department, Karen Olex, now on the Oakland County MegaCast. Karen, thank you for being with us today.
You're welcome.
Karen, right now, let's just get right into it. As we prepare for this school year, with all the factors that are at play right now, what is the number one need in our schools at this moment in time for children and families with special needs?
Well, I guess it's kind of a loaded question because there's many needs, many number one needs, but the most important need today is to make sure that we have the staff available to open the schools and make sure that the students are receiving a proper education, a free and appropriate public education with the appropriate staff. And that, again, is why we sent out the media blast on the need for paraeducators.
And for those that are unfamiliar, there is also a great article on the Detroit Free Press, Michigan Schools Special Education Aid Jobs that lists a bunch of those that are available. And there is, according to this article, it's listed as saying there is an urgent need for these. Just how much of a deficit in this department are our schools across the Oakland County area specifically? How much of a deficit are they at in these positions?
Well, so we are I did an informal survey with our local directors, and about 15 of them responded out of 28. And out of that number, it was about 16%. We're still down about 16% of the need for paraeducators. And that was a week ago. And they've been trying to hire all summer, and they'll keep on hiring right up until they have all the positions filled, but currently stands at about 16%.
And for those that are unfamiliar, what are paraprofessionals? What do they do in the classroom?
So paraprofessionals are, they're also called teacher assistants. They're called instructional aides. They've got many, many different names, which kind of helps with the confusion on how to apply for the job. But what they do, their jobs vary on the needs of the students. For a student with an IEP, they might be someone to reteach a lesson. They might be someone to model appropriate behavior. They might be someone that goes with them to the general ed class as an aide to help them understand directions. They help the teacher make sure the special education class is organized. It just varies on the different needs of the individual students.
In a situation pre-pandemic or during pandemic, without paraprofessionals in the classroom to help these students through these lessons, to help the teachers as well provide the necessary and proper education for all of their students regardless of circumstances, what kind of situation are we looking at potentially this fall and through this school year for students with special needs?
So without the paraeducators, it makes it a little rougher for the teacher because it puts more pressure on the teacher to make sure that those students are receiving everything that they need for their IEP. Again, a paraprofessional is not the teacher, and a paraprofessional is not typically written into an IEP because they are there to support and reteach and things like that. But without the paraprofessionals, it makes it more difficult for the teacher to get to every student needs in an in-depth way so that every student has a little bit extra support as they're going through many of the general ed curriculum needs that they have and or their behavioral needs. We also have, I forgot to mention, we also have some medical paras out there, and they're called medical paras or just paraeducators. And those are the paras that help with the students who have diabetes or maybe have a trach that needs a trach clean, things like that. So in that sense, they have to be hired because those paras are vital in the survival of the students. So again, it's a wide gamut of what they have. Without the paraeducators, it puts that much more pressure on an already overburdened special education teacher.
So on the topic of IEPs, what exactly is an IEP? Can you explain that a little bit more, and what exactly does a student need to qualify for an IEP?
So an IEP is an individualized education plan. And there are 13 areas of recognized disabilities through IDEA, which is a federal law. It started off as 94-142, then it was reauthorized in 2004. It's called IDEA 2004. And what this is a federal law that mandates students who have specific disabilities still receive a free and appropriate public education in their least restrictive environment and the students with an IEP are considered to be general education students first. Therefore, the special education program, the individualized education plan that is a yearly meeting with parents and all the staff that will help support the student, kind of determine what kind of extra supports or what are the needs of the student in order for that student to receive the access to the general ed curriculum.
And what about, on the same topic, a 504 plan? Is that in the same category? Are those students also considered to be special needs, or is that something completely different?
So, it makes it difficult. Special needs can be I could be special needs. Anybody can be special needs. If you have a special need, you could be considered special needs. But a student with an IEP has been identified through federal guidelines as a student who's requiring specialized instruction in order to receive his free appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment. A student with a 504 is 504 is part of the Rehabilitation Act, and that assures access. So yes, there's students with special needs as well, but there's the student with a 504 is more of a need of having access to a building with the students. So there's a little bit of a different. They're not necessarily requiring specialized instruction as much as supports so that they are able to gain access.
Karen Olex joins us now on the Oakland County MegaCast. She is the Executive Director of Oakland Schools Special Populations as schools throughout Oakland County prepare for the 2021-2022 school year with COVID-19 very much still in mind and with a great need for paraprofessionals in the classroom. And Karen, among the jobs that are available for paraprofessionals in our schools in Oakland County, are these full-time jobs? Are these part-time jobs? Does it vary?
No. Yeah, they could be a part-time job, but in all honesty, for most of them, they are full-time positions. They are in the school during the school day. They have time off when the teachers have time off or when the schools are closed, obviously. And they are work side by side with the teacher as part of the building. They become part of the culture in any given building that they're at.
And what are some of the qualifications for these jobs?
So again, depending on the position, but typically all you need is a high school diploma and a loving, caring demeanor with children.
In an ideal world, if these schools could wave a magic wand and put the perfect candidate for these paraprofessional jobs in their classroom, what would be some of those qualifications or backgrounds that these professionals would have when they're entering the classrooms?
Well, again, I think it's a true, honest, caring demeanor for children. I think that it would be somebody who could follow directions, somebody who has the ability to take some initiative, somebody who has the skill level to work collaboratively with their teacher of record for special education, as well as the general ed teacher environment, someone to be able to assimilate into the whole school culture. And somebody who will be able to understand a child's disability. Whether the child is a learning disabled child or an emotionally impaired child or on the autism spectrum, understand the nuances, the minor nuances of those, and be able to adjust their interaction with the child to meet that child's needs.
So these jobs are available. Are there a lot of these available across Oakland County? Are there select school districts? What is the status of this availability?
So as far as I'm aware, every single district still has openings for paraeducators in Oakland County. And they are looking to do whatever they can to help these paraeducators come and work for them. Some of the out-of-the-box thinking that the directors of special education have worked with their local districts to provide is maybe a finder's fee. If you work already at a local district and you bring in a friend and they become a parapro again, there might be a little bit of a finder's fee for you, they're calling it, or perhaps a stipend, or if you stay the whole year and stay as a parapro for the whole year, at the end of the year, you might get a little bit of money. And we're not talking big money. Remember, this is public education. So we're talking something to sweeten the pot a little bit to keep them together, where some of the districts are allowing friends to work together in the same district, in the same building, so that, the camaraderie is already built there. A lot of the districts have tried to raise the salaries of the paraeducators Traditionally, over the years, there were very few, maybe one in Oakland County district who was able to provide healthcare benefits to paraeducators. They're trying to figure out how to be able to afford healthcare benefits to offer those to paraeducators. They're really thinking out of the box and trying to find some money somewhere to help encourage people to take these positions.
Now let's talk a little bit about that encouragement and those proverbial carrots that are being dangled, because right now there are a lot of people that are leaving the education field or have been throughout this pandemic, and there seems to be some hesitation to get into that. Not to mention, we have such a competitive job market across a number of fields. So in terms of incentives for prospective employees to take these paraprofessional jobs, what is available in Oakland County, or what is being offered?
Well, again, just what I just threw, those are the kind of the incentives that are out there. Again, there are so many needs for these paraeducators, making a difference in your community, helping work closely with the teacher, have a caring heart. As for the carrots, I mean, their hands are pretty limited when it comes to salary and benefits and things like that. They're trying to work through their Board of Ed along with their superintendents to make sure that they can provide everything they can to help people see that these are not only much needed and much rewarding positions, helping students, very, very rewarding in your community, but worthwhile.
Karen Olex with us on the Oakland County Megacast, the Executive Director for Oakland Schools Special Populations, joining us on today's edition of the show. If you missed any of this interview and you want to watch more of it later on, or watch the entire thing on demand later on, it'll be on our website, civiccentertv.com. Just click on our Megacast link and you'll be able to find it all right there. So Karen, as we have as we are preparing for the school district and for the school year, as we're preparing to send our kids back into the classroom, some in situations that will be in person, some in situations that may be hybrid, what advice does your department have right now for parents and for educators, frankly, as we're preparing for this school year? Because these changes have impacts on all students, especially those with special needs.
Well, I think the main thing people can do is to remember that everybody's in this together, that we are trying to provide an education for students in a world situation that we have never experienced before. So I think the advice I would give is to please stay together, please communicate with each other, please collaborate with each other. The better everybody gets along, for lack of a better way to put that, the better it is for students, and their education will thrive as a result of that.
We've heard a lot over the course of the pandemic about the buzzword learning loss, and buzz term learning loss, as there's been those shifts from in-person to hybrid, or from from hybrid to entirely online. In terms of our special needs student populations, what impact has the conditions of the pandemic had on their learning and their potential for learning loss during this time?
Well, I think the pandemic it hasn't caused any more learning loss for special education students as it has for general education students. And again, educators are trying to figure all that out. This is not something that, again, we had schooling on. You didn't have pandemic 101 when you went to school. So it's something we're all trying to work and figure out together. And I think that, again, we're not normal yet. We're not back at a normal school year yet. So how do you figure out learning loss when we're not back yet on what has been done in the past? So it's just all moving forward as to who knows what and who's done what and how students have survived. Some students did really, really well with online schooling, some students not so much. So again, everybody's trying to think outside the box and do whatever they can so that each student receives the education they deserve.
Circling back to the issue of paraprofessional job openings that there are so en masse right now in the Oakland County area, as you said earlier on in this interview, there are openings in pretty much every school district here in Oakland County for these jobs. Why is there such a shortage of paraprofessionals specifically in our schools here in Oakland County?
Well, I think there's a shortage everywhere across the state, from what I understand from my colleagues and other ISDs. However, I think that it is a multifaceted problem. There is the fact that the students, that it's hard work. It's hard making sure that students receive everything they need. Students have some severe issues that require some support from the paraeducators. I think COVID is another factor that comes into that. You're going into a school, you're going into a building. COVID is part of that. The COVID pandemic, we don't know where it is or how it's happening, or the Delta part of COVID and all of that. I think that there are higher paying jobs elsewhere that require a high school diploma. I think that that's a factor. I think the unemployment as a result of COVID, the increase of unemployment is a factor of that. And I think that there have been some people that have pretty much left the metro area in the past years. So I think that's all factors, some of the factors that all weigh into that, just education as a whole.
We're really getting down to the wire. It's just a couple of weeks now until many of our schools will begin their school year ahead of Labor Day, which has been uncharacteristic in several years past. So as we're approaching that date, how much more of a concern does it become for these school districts as we get closer to those dates to not only get these professionals in the door as goal A, but goal B, almost more importantly, to get them prepared for their specific students in this specific school year?
Well, I think that's, as every day that goes on, every day that passes by, it becomes more, and you have a greater sense of urgency. You know you need the staff. You know you need to prepare the staff. You know that the staff needs the training. And a lot of the districts, you're right, they're opening before Labor Day, so they're having their staff professional learning opportunities in the next couple weeks. So directors are trying everything they can to get everybody in place.
Just another couple minutes with you here on the Oakland County MegaCast. We're joined by Karen Olex, the Executive Director of Oakland Schools Special Populations, with us on the program. And as we are approaching that date, if people are looking for jobs and are interested in serving in our public schools, a need that is so great right now, and particularly in these paraprofessional positions, where can they find more information and maybe even apply for these jobs?
Yeah, that would be great. If they could go to the Oakland Schools Hiring Consortium website, and it's right, if you go to Oakland Schools, our Oakland Schools Internet Access, it'll take you right to the area that you can apply, and you do it all online. And all the districts are part of our consortium, and you can go to each individual district. If you want to work in a specific district, it's listed right there, and you can apply right there, all online.
Karen Olex with us, the Executive Director of Oakland Schools Special Populations Department on the Oakland County MegaCast. Just another couple minutes with you, Karen, before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else that you would like to mention today that would be important or interesting for our audience to know?
All I would like to say at the end is that what I would like to tell everybody is that this is a very rewarding job. Students can get into your heart, and you care about them, and you can make a difference in your community. And if you're looking for a job to not only give you an income, but also make a difference in your life, I would strongly suggest that you apply as a paraeducator. It is a very, very rewarding position.
Well, we appreciate your time, and we appreciate your efforts as we come into another school year with a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainty, and we appreciate you and your team at Oakland Schools and the Special Populations Department that are doing their part to try to curb some of those uncertainties. Karen, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.